At one point in time, people really thought that TNA could compete with WWE the same level WCW could in its prime. They had a very stacked roster featuring some massive names such as the likes of Sting and Kurt Angle. And TNA also helped to build some amazing stars who we now see in the WWE, such as AJ Styles, EC3 and Bobby Roode. At one point, CM Punk was even in TNA before he went off to become one of the biggest stars in WWE history. So where did it all go wrong? With a roster as stacked as theirs, they should have been bound for glory, pun intended. Welcome to the day TNA Wrestling died. Welcome to part 1 of potentially 3 of maybe a little 3-part series, depending on how well this video goes down in my series where I look at TNA through a timeline and talk about where it all went wrong for them. Now, there is no definitive day that TNA died. I mean, after all, they're still running operations as a company, but the day I'm selecting for this video is a day that I believe served as a catalyst and led to a downward spiral for TNA, making TNA lose all its popularity and putting it kind of in the place that it's in now in terms of how many viewers it has. Let's begin. Total Nonstop Action was founded by Jeff and Jerry Jarrett in 2002. The promotion was initially known as NWA Total Nonstop Action as it was associated with the National Wrestling Alliance, aka the NWA, not to be confused with the rap group. They looked to fill the void left by the death of WCW and create a potential competitor for WWE. And while they never really got onto WWE's level, for a good time they put on some great shows, got many stars over, and attracted a very loyal and large fan base, and that's the important word, loyal. Between 2002 and 2006, I would argue was their glory years. Between this time, TNA had the likes of AJ Styles, Sting, Kurt Angle, Christian, Christopher Daniels, Bobby Roode, the Dudleys, Samoa Joe and Austin Aries, all of which were big stars in TNA. And between 2006 and 2010, they were an established company and known largely across the wrestling fan base. Here's the thing though, I should mention that while TNA were popular and the second biggest wrestling company, they were not perfect. In fact, they were far from perfect. There were a lot of bad moments and angles, but the only thing is that these angles weren't bad enough to put the company on a downward spiral that would ultimately make it lose its popularity entirely, like the moment I'm going to be discussing in today's video, and that is largely down to TNA's fanbase being very loyal and putting up with a lot, because believe me, they put up with a lot. Upon TNA's launch in 2002, infamous wrestling creative writer Vince Russo was signed to the promotion. Signing the guy that played a part in killing WCW was a weird move from TNA, but it's actually going to be a theme of what I'm going to be talking about in this video. He stayed between 2002 and 2004 where he was an on-screen character, and reports came out that behind the scenes there was a creative power struggle over the direction of TNA, which led to him leaving following Victory Road 2004. However, Vince would return as a writer for the TNA creative team in 2006 to 2012, during which time many dumb things happened, including but not limited to the Reverse Battle Royal and the Electric Steel Cage match. Remember those? During this time, it became a regular for the fans to chant "Fire Russo" whenever a bad booking decision or terrible angle was happening. Vince would become the head of creative in July 2009, which was ironically the same month that Kevin Nash beat AJ Styles at Victory Road to win a title. What a coincidence. It was also this same event that saw Sharmell take on Survivor contestant Jenna Maraska in a match that was labelled by Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer newsletter as the worst women's wrestling match of all time. And it was also the match that birthed this famous sound clip that you hear in the Botchamania intro.
-5 stars!
By this point, TNA was really starting to replicate WCW. They had the same head writer, awful match stipulations, and relying on stars of the past and putting them over newer talents. Fans were starting to get sick, and the only way for it to change was for someone in a high position to come in and change TNA, and what they got instead was people come in a high position and reinforce everything I just mentioned. On October 27, 2009, it was announced that Hulk Hogan had joined TNA on a full-time basis. Also joining him was Eric Bischoff. The signing was reported worldwide, with Bleacher Report calling the news piece a very weird story. Eric Bischoff and Hogan were both made on-screen characters while also working backstage. Eric Bischoff would work as an executive producer, and Hogan's role was revealed by Dixie Carter in an interview in the UK Sun, where she said, quote, "He is involved with everything from looking at the talent to how we shoot the show." Yes, that's right. That is how much involvement he had. He was working with the cameras. The signing of Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff was announced on October 27th at a press conference in Madison Square Garden. Dixie Carter stated, "Our goal is to become the world's biggest professional wrestling company. Hulk defines professional wrestling, and we look forward to partnering with him in a variety of ways as we continue to grow TNA globally." Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and Vince Russo, three key figures in killing WCW, were now all working together again and trying to work out a way to become the biggest wrestling company in the world. Oh god, this is doomed from the start. Hulk Hogan made an appearance on the finale of The Ultimate Fighter Heavyweight on Spike TV, aka the same network TNA was airing on. Hogan would announce that Impact would be airing on January 4th for a special 3-hour episode. Now, this may seem insignificant, but the reason why I mention this and why this is significant and a big announcement is because January 4th was a Monday, aka the day that Monday Night Raw, the most popular wrestling show, airs. During this time, TNA aired their Impact TV show on Thursday, and this one night only move to Monday nights would create a one night only ratings battle between TNA Impact and Monday Night Raw. The similarities can be seen from a mile away. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, two key figures in WCW, have come in and immediately announced a Monday show. Oh my god, this was the beginning of the end. And one thing that you might be wondering is how Vince Russo was going to work with Hogan and Bischoff, as it's widely recorded that Vince Russo had major problems with Hogan and Bischoff during WCW, including an incident which saw Russo cut a shoot promo on Hogan, and Hogan threatened to sue for defamation of character. However, despite these concerns, Vince Russo states that the three men on the January 4th episode met up and settled their differences. An interesting note is that it seemed as though WWE were actually treating the show as competition. They countered TNA's announcement of the show by announcing that Bret Hart would be appearing on Raw on January 4th, for the first time since the Montreal Screwjob. Dixie Carter would then go on to state that while Spike was not expecting Impact to beat Raw in the ratings, it would be considered a success if they managed to at least maintain their usual Thursday night Impact rating, which, when you hear this quote, kind of makes you wonder why they put the show on that day in the first place. That's a complete lie. January 4th came round and TNA pulled out all the stops for this episode of Impact, with 3 championship matches and many returns and debuts. The results of the show are as followed. Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Consequences Creed aka Xavier Woods, Homicide, Jay Lethal, Kiyoshi, Suicide and Amazing Red competed in a Steel Asylum match that ended in no contest, for an interesting reason I'll mention in just a second. ODB defeated Tara aka Victoria to become the new Knockouts champion. Awesome Kong and Hamada defeated Sarita and Taylor Wilde to become the new TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Hernandez and Matt Morgan defeated Raven and Stevie Richards. D'Angelo De Niro defeated Abyss, and AJ Styles defeated Kurt Angle to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. The show also featured the returns of Scott Hall, Sean Waltman, Sting, Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Hardy, who had only recently left the WWE, and you might remember came out and just chilled on top of the cage during the Steel Asylum match, which is why the match ended in a no contest, by the way, so imagine that. We also saw the debuts of Ric Flair, Val Venus, the Nasty Boys, and Orlando Jordan, and with all these debuts and returns and just Sting, Ric Flair and Jeff Hardy alone, TNA might actually have been able to compete with WWE However, the ratings came back and Monday Night Raw got an average of 5.6 and TNA got an average of 2.2. Despite losing the battle to WWE, this set a rating for Impact, a ratings record for Impact, and gave confidence to Spike executives and TNA higher-ups, which would cause something crazy to happen. On March 8, 2010, TNA Impact officially moved to Monday Night, competing directly with Monday Night Raw. In an interview with Bob the Love Sponge, Eric Bischoff said that he felt history was repeating itself in regards to him competing against McMahon for ratings once again. This move was doomed from the start and just was never going to work. They were more than doubled in the ratings on an episode that featured Jeff Hardy and Sting returning, as well as Ric Flair debuting. If they're more than doubled in that, it was only downhill from there. On the 8th of March episode, Impact drew a 0.98 compared to Raw's 3.4. On March 15th, Impact drew a 0.84 compared to Raw's 3.71. March 22nd, Raw won 3.2 to 0.86. March 29th, Raw won 3.7 to 0.62. 5th of April, Raw won 3.15 to 0.9. April 12th, Raw won 3.24 to 0.8. April 19th, Raw won 3.05 to 0.95. April 26th, Raw won 3.3 to 0.5. May 3rd, Raw won 3.05 to 0.8. May 10th, nope, just kidding. The May 3rd episode was the final episode of Monday Night Impact. It ended after less than 2 months and just 10 episodes. It was a complete failure. They were doubled and tripled many times during this ratings war and came nowhere near to beating Raw in the ratings. The big problems with these shows is that Bischoff and Hogan were on-screen characters and were the main parts of each shows. Fans were longing for new younger stars to be built rather than just relying on former WWE guys and wrestling legends. Like, they had just seen AJ Styles losing to Kevin Nash, and the last thing needed was Bischoff and Hogan on screen as major characters. Hogan and Bischoff also used their high positions to put their untalented, bland family members on TV. Garrett Bischoff, Eric Bischoff's son, was given lots of TV time and even joined TNA's awful attempt at a cool NWO style faction in Aces and Eights. And Brooke Hogan, Hulk Hogan's daughter, got far too much TV time, and honestly, the less said about that the better. The day I believe that served as a catalyst for TNA's downward spiral in popularity is October 27th, 2009, the day Hogan and Bischoff were announced for TNA. If you want to compete with WWE, the last thing you want to be doing is hire two people in high positions who are key to another company losing a war with WWE to the point of liquidation, to work with another guy who is a key figure in another company losing a war with WWE to the point of liquidation of the company. It was always gonna fail, but the thing is, TNA president Dixie Carter was never gonna know that because she knew nothing about wrestling. Anyway guys, that's gonna do it for this video. If you would like to see part 2, where I talk about another day that really screwed up TNA, I have 2 more parts prepared. I just need to write the scripts for them. I know exactly what I'll be talking about. So if you would like to see that, smash the like button, let me know. I worked really hard on this video. And yeah, definitely just let me know. And let me know if you agree with me or not. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Smash the like button. Follow me on Twitter at Top 10 Wrestling. My Instagram is @I'mTomBell. Goodbye, and keep on rolling.